Here it is. Here it is, Samuel. And man, that's where I was going. Get out my stuff. 1 Samuel chapter 17. I got to release this to you. 1 Samuel 17, 32 through 40. 1 Samuel 17, 32 through 40. I'm reading out of the contemporary English version, so mine's going to read a little different. Y'all with me? Somebody got to say, I got it. 1 Samuel 17, 32 through 40. The contemporary English version reads it like this. It says, Your Majesty, he said, this Philistine shouldn't turn us into cowards. I'll go out and fight him myself. He said, he gonna do it himself. He says, now this is the king talking back to him. He says, you don't have a chance against him. You are only a boy, and he's been a soldier all his life. He said, but David told him, Your Majesty, I take care of my father's sheep. And when one of them are dragged off by a lion or a bear, I go after it and beat the wild animal until it lets the sheep go. If the wild animal turns and attacks me, I grab it by the throat and kill it. Sir, I have killed lions and bears that way. He said, and I can kill this worthless Philistine. He shouldn't have made fun of the army of the living God. The Lord has rescued me from the claws of the lions and bears, and he will keep me safe from the hands of this Philistine. All right, Saul answered, go ahead and fight him. And I hope the Lord will be with you. And Saul said his own military clothes and armor that he put on David. And he gave David a bronze helmet to wear, and David strapped his sword around his body and began to walk around, but it was so heavy that David couldn't move in that stuff. David tells Saul, I can't use this. It's too heavy for me. Yes, sir. So he picked up, I'm paraphrasing now, what he already had in his hands. Yes, sir. Picked up what he already had. All right. I see you. Scripture says David grabbed the staff, yes, sir, and 5 smooth stones. That's it. Y'all sit down. I want to talk to you or encourage you this year. In the second quarter of 2019, wear your own clothes. My Lord. Wear your own clothes, because here it is now. I have an issue, and I got to jump right into this. I have an issue because while David is talking to Saul, there is a problem on the battlefield because there is a giant by the name of Goliath. Now, we all know the story because you've heard it in Sunday school. I'm sure you have. There is a giant called Goliath, and he's calling out and he's challenging the army. Yes, sir. Now, here's my issue, Elder John. When you read the text, if he is a man of war and he's calling out people of war, why is it that those who are gifted to do what it is he's challenging them to do ain't really willing to do what they supposed to do? I got problem with that. And I want you to understand my first point is you cannot allow people to push you into something that they ain't themselves willing to do. Here it is. These were military men, and they were supposed to be the ones who are able to fight. Now, it's just one giant. Although he's a giant, it's still more of them than it is of this giant. So why is it that they couldn't band together and come up with a strategic strategy to handle the one person that's standing up talking against their God? And here it is now. Everybody in the camp is scared. Yes, sir. But in the camp, you can check me. In the camp, you can go off on your neighbor.
Well,
the same one who worships the same God you worship.
yes, sir.
You can tell them about their self, but when it comes to dealing with the giant, ain't nobody got nothing to say.
Well,
and you got to watch David's discourse. David says, do not let this giant turn us into cowards.
well,
Here's my question. Here's my question. And that is, Deacon Pete, is it that he was turning them into cowards, or were they already cowards parading as warriors?
come on.
Because when trouble comes, when problems arise, really what's in you abundantly is going to come out you eventually, and you can always tell what a person is made of. Just wait till some trouble hit. You want to know what a person think? Wait till some trouble hit. You want to know how they feel? Wait till some trouble hit. Amen. And as soon as trouble strikes, if they ain't willing to stand up and go against the enemy just as loud as they was going against you, truth be told, they're a coward. And I want you to understand, while we have a lot of people that sing the songs, I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. I got my sword in my hand. I'm on the battlefield fighting for my life. Truth be told, they're praying they ain't never got to fight.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
David's discourse with King Saul. And see, I understand Saul wanting to help. But you cannot allow what you're facing to turn you into something you're not. My question, my beloved brothers and sisters, children of God, saints of the Most High, you good shouters and tongue talkers and church runners, who are you really?
Come on.
Are you really a soldier that's ready to risk it all for the cause of Christ? Or are you just a pretender hoping that stuff don't go wrong?
Come on. Preach.
I've learned now in my 42 years of living, I've learned that no matter how good you are, no matter how often you prepare, sometimes Deacon D. Berry's stuff gonna go wrong. That no matter what you do, Mike, sometimes stuff just gonna go wrong. And here it is. You've been declaring that you are a servant. You've been declaring how much you love God. You've been declaring how much you trust God. You've been declaring how good God has been. You've been declaring how you are the righteousness of God. And yet you're blessed coming in and you're blessed going out. You're blessed when you stand and you're blessed when you sit. I've come to tell you, even in all of that, when the giant in your life stands up and starts declaring to you, you can't do what God said, what you gonna do? What you gonna say? Here it is now. Watch this, because they're having this conversation, they're having this discourse, and my issue I have with Saul, same issue I got with many believers. David talked in faith. Saul counseled in fear. Jesus. Oh, you should have been in the Bible study. We talked about Fear Wednesday. What are you saying? How do you know he did it? Because when David said, listen, I'll go out there and I'll fight them by myself. I'll go ahead and handle this thing for you because you too scared, king, and you got men around you and all of them scared. They're supposed to be big and bad and they ain't doing nothing either. I tell you what, king, I'll go out there and I'll handle the situation for you. I get this thing straight. I get it rectified because, you know, I'm going to always operate on 100. Can't nobody stop me when I'm walking in the name of the Lord. Can't nobody deal with me when I'm declaring that I shall not die but live and declare the works of the Lord. I'll deal with this uncircumcised giant myself. And Saul says,
Yes, sir. My.
out of everything David said about his God, Saul said,
Yes, sir.
you can't do that. You're just a boy.
Well, I got it.
Wait. What? Deke, you've been in church a long time. Don't you think it's strange when you talk in faith and everybody around you who know the same God you do, they talk in fear? You telling them what God showed you, and they too busy saying what you can't do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's right here in the text. He said, you can't handle him. You just a boy. Can I help you? Can I help you? Sometimes you've got to release to people your resume. You're missing me. Because people are looking at you based on what they perceive, but they don't know what you've been through. They're dealing with you based on their limited understanding, but they don't know how God's been working in your life. And I come to tell you, when you start rehearsing your resume, it ain't you being arrogant, it ain't you bragging, it's just letting them know, I know about what I'm talking about because I lived what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because the king didn't know. He had to let the king know, listen here, king, let me tell you how God's been preparing me for this. Jesus, what you going through is just stuff that God's been preparing you for. That's why you had to deal with the lonely issues you had to deal with. That's why you had to deal with the rejection. That's why you had to deal with the lies. That's why you had to deal with the rumors. That's why you had to deal with the lack. It's because God was preparing you so that when you stand in front of your giant, you can look that bad boy square in the eye and tell him you ain't got nothing here. Why? Because you don't know what God has done with me. You don't know what God has done for me, and you really don't know what he's done through me. He rehearsed to the king his resume.
That's right.
He said, just because you don't know, first of all, I ain't just get brave when I showed up here.
All right.
I ain't just get courage when I showed up in front of you. He said, I've been walking this way since my father gave me an assignment. What are you saying? I've been acting like this since the Lord put his hands on me. I've been talking this kind of talk since the Lord been dealing with me. I ain't just start talking faith. I've been walking faith. He says to him, he says, when the lion and the bear come and they take what don't belong to them. He says, I go out. I ain't call nobody. I ain't asked nobody to come with me. I ain't trying to get on the phone and see who was going to help. He said, I go. And he says, I beat him till he released it. Now watch this. This part shouted me right here. And he said, when he turns and attacks me. He says, then, not only do I beat it, but I kill it. See, some of y'all just beating on stuff for too long. Some stuff, the reason you still struggling because you ain't killed it yet. At what point do you become aggressive enough to stop being a punk in the kingdom? Oh, mother, I'm sorry, don't get me after church. He says to the king, you don't know my resume. And so then the king says, well, that sounds mighty impressive. I tell you what, may the Lord help you.
Yes, sir.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, king. Because if you saying, may the Lord help me, that means you really ain't heard nothing I said.
No. Come on.
Because how you going to say, may the Lord help me?
Come on.
When proof is he's been with me, because I wouldn't have been able to do what I've been able to do had not the Lord been helping me. I want you to realize I ain't just catching up, I need you to catch up. What you are facing and what you are going to face, you cannot handle it in your own might, but you got to learn how to stand in the strength of the Lord. Here's one of the problems, though. Again, David is having discourse with the king.
Yes, sir.
But the army still on the battlefield, and they ain't moving. One man has more faith than 300.
My Lord.
Scripture says one could chase 1,000, and two could do 10,000. But the problem is, we can't find nobody else.
Yes, sir.
So you got to be able to wreak havoc on the enemy by yourself. You got to be able to stand in the Lord your God by yourself. You got to be able and willing to stand on the word by yourself. You got to be willing to speak the word by yourself. You got to be willing to intercede by yourself. You've got to be willing to risk it all by yourself. He's talking to the king.
Yes, sir.
And man, I'm about to go. He's talking. And the king says, well, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to give you something
Yes, sir.
to handle what you're dealing with. Can I help you?
Come on.
Sister Tam, I talk to you. You look like you're paying attention. Let me caution you of everybody that want to give you their stuff when it's time to fight a battle, but don't want to use their stuff when it's time to fight a battle. You got to watch the text.
Yes, sir.
Because if Saul gave him his armor, where was Saul's armor?
Well, Lord.
Saul didn't plan to go. But wait a minute. How you giving instruction for a fight?
Sir.
You ain't even getting in.
Come on, sir. Come on, sir.
Why are you trying to tell somebody what they need to do? For a situation you done made a 10 in and got comfortable. Girl, if I was you, I'd leave that man, but you still got that man in your bed.
Come on.
I'm sorry, I'm meddling. Let me go on to mind my business. Let me go on back. You cannot afford for the enemy or those who are supposed to be on the side of the God you serve to lump you in with everybody else. I want you to know you're not like everybody else. You're gifted. You're talented. And the only reason, Sister Joy, that many of us never release our gifts, we never release our talents, is because we keep talking to folk who got more fear than faith. And those folk who got more fear than faith, because of relationship, we listen to them.
That's right.
You got to start telling folk, when your fear don't match my faith, your confession ain't like mine, we can't talk. Okay, I gotta let you go. I gotta let you go. Y'all getting mad at me. He says, King, this stuff, it's too heavy. Deacon D. Berry, and it dawns on me the reason it was too heavy. It wasn't that David was weak. It was just what Saul was putting on David wasn't cut for David, it was cut for Saul.
That's it. That's it right there.
What are you saying? I want you to understand that what some folk are trying to put on you, the reason it don't feel right, the reason it's too heavy, the reason it weighs you down every time they call you is because that stuff wasn't fit for you. It wasn't cut for you. And because it wasn't cut for you, ain't no point in you putting that stuff on. Why? Because it don't fit. You ain't a negative person. You ain't a complaining person. You ain't no gossiper. You ain't no fighter. You ain't no fusser. It don't fit you. So start telling them, you know what, I got to take this off. And here's the thing. I'm through after this. I promise y'all, I'm going to let y'all go eat. I'm through. But here's the thing. He says, when he took it off, Scripture says, he grabbed his staff and 5 smooth stones. What are you saying, preacher? I want you to understand, I'm only going to leave with what I came with. I ain't trying to get nothing extra. I ain't trying to take nothing from you, but I already came in my hands what I needed to win the battle. I already had in my hands what I needed to win the war. What you looking for? Just look in your hand. What's in your hand? You got a staff. The staff is there to lead you. The staff is there to guide you. God gave David a staff. Then David grabbed 5 smooth stones. And the reason he had 5 is because 5 is the number of grace. Watch this. Let me get this to you, Hicks. Might mess you up a little bit, but I'm going to give it to you. He only needed 1, but he had grace.
My.
It ain't going to take you a lot to do what you got to do because you got grace. You ain't going to have to fight as hard as you think because you got grace. I understand they're giving you a whole lot of stuff, but I got grace on my side, baby. And all I need is one smooth stone. What does the one represents? The one represents the Father, the creator of the world, the Father, the creator of nations, the Father, the one that put his hands on me, the Father, the one that put breath in my body, the Father, the one that parted the Red Sea, the Father, the one that made manna fall, the Father. So wear your own stuff. You ain't gotta be like nobody else. Be you. They always telling you what I do. If I was you, you ain't got my grace. So you can't do what I can do. I can't do what you can do. But one thing is for sure, I'm gonna go ahead and fight this giant by myself. because I don't need nobody with me who don't believe God like I do. We run, we jump, we shout, but we scared. I come to tell you, don't let what you're facing, whatever it is, turn you into a coward. Don't let what they say and make you run away from what you know.
Yes, sir.
Don't let how they feel shake you from what you know is real. God never promised Lady Dale that giants wouldn't come. But he did promise that he wouldn't leave me. So that means even when the giants come, because God's promises are still good, when I look to my left, he's right there. When I look to my right, he's right there. When I look down, he's right there. When I look up, he's right there. And when I look in front of me, he's right there. And when I turn around, he's right there. And just in case I feel by myself, just in case I have a moment where I think he's left me, he reminded me in the 23rd Psalm that surely goodness and mercy will follow me. How long? All the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord. My mama may leave me, my daddy may walk out, friends may go, my wife may quit, but goodness and mercy is gonna follow me all the days of my life. I know where I'm going, I know where I've been, but thanks be to God. It's in your hands. When God sent you here, he sent you here with it. But he never intended for you to take it and hide it. He never intended for you to hide your talents. He never intended for you to sit down on your gift. He gave it to you because what you have in your hands is what we need to beat the giant.
That's right.
Samaritan, I just believe that we have what it takes.
Yes, sir.
To beat our Goliath.
That's it.
That's all I wanted to tell you, is you got what it takes, but you got to wear your own clothes.
That's it. Yes.
Don't let nobody turn you into something you're not. Don't let nobody turn you into a carbon copy of them, because if God wanted you to be them, he'd have made you them.
That's it.
Who did God call you to be? What did God assign to your hands to do? That's what you got to do.
That's it.
The thing that made David so successful, his faith in God, his remembering God's track record, and him being comfortable with the tools he had.
That's it.
Can I give you this last thing? You don't ever have to envy somebody else's gift. ain't got to be jealous of nobody else's talent. Because God gave you what he knew you could handle. So can't nobody wield the tools you will. Jesus. Tell your neighbor, say, wear your own clothes. No, you told the wrong one. Tell somebody else, wear your own clothes. Be you, wear your own stuff. I need you to be just as fearful and ready to fight in battle as you are behind closed doors when we ain't even looking at the giant. Use what's in your hands. Ain't nothing to be ashamed of, because God has gifted you to handle that specific anointing. He's gifted you with the grace to handle that particular assignment. I'm a firm believer that the reason the army was scared is because honestly, it wasn't their assignment. It was David's assignment to show them the power of the living God.
That's it. That's right.
Jesus.
Hallelujah.
And it just hit me. That's why it's only you dealing with it.
My.
Because it's your assignment to show everybody else the power of the living God. Doors of the church are open.